Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and check this out. Linked to surpassing 150K users on the brink of a record-breaking Q2. We're excited about our progress. It linked to our surge in user growth, strong revenue, increased trailblazing product innovation, or transforming private equity access. Linked to is one of my sponsors. The link's in the top of the description. They did list Circle this week and it sold out right quick. I am trying to find out if they're getting more, but they do right now. They have Ripple on the platform. They have Polysign. They have Link2 itself. I'm naming the ones that I own. I think they have Uphold, which I also own. So check it out. Ripple whales bought the dip. While the price of XRP dropped 12% from June 22 to 28, whales bought 360 million XRP worth $170 million. I haven't been buying. Last thing I bought was XLM, and actually I saw where XLM has been surging here recently. I don't know the why of it. Check this out. While Gary Gensler and his Chinese bribed boss hold back U.S. innovation while China rises and the rest of the world rises in crypto, we've got more rising. UK crypto stablecoin rules receive royal assent, passing into law. Royal assent is like over there, I think it's kind of like just a political thing where King Charles, I hadn't even said that phrase yet, King Charles waves his wand or whatever and approves the bill. So they now have official passed into law stablecoin rules over there in the UK, because I guess they want their country to do well. When somebody they're turning up the pressure on Gary Gensler, by the way. Here, that's where we're entering that section here. The hashtag Fire Gary Gensler movement by Warren Davidson. He's continuing his thing about firing Gary Gensler and restructuring the SEC. But I'll say it again, Warren Davidson, if you know that your bill can't pass, what is your plan B? Is your backup plan to defund Gary Gensler, or at least defund any money spent for crypto? Because my understanding is that you can do that. Why are you not talking about that? Because I assume you know that your bill is just a political move and that it's not going to pass because you don't have the Senate. So my question is to Warren Davidson and all these other, quote, good guys who are supposed to be, fighting for everybody who knows Gary Gensler's a bad guy. What are you going to do that actually gets him? Because the bill's not going to get him. It's not going to pass. So if you're just, putting this bill and spending money on graphics like this to make it look like you're doing something, that's as BS as Gary Gensler being there in the first place. So that's my question. I'm tired of all, I know the people listening to me, I'm tired of all the symbolic political BS. I think our country is sick and tired of all the symbolic, the guys that are pretending to take action when there's not really anything being done, when it's really just a few letters being sent. And we'll get to that in a minute. Patrick McHenry's sending more letters with his friends. For the record, Jay Clayton should have recused himself from the vote to sue Ripple as well. Everybody was lauding Jake Chervinsky for this write-up about how Gary Gensler should now recuse himself, which I agree with. But little reminder, Jay Clayton had all kinds of conflicts of interest when he voted to sue Ripple. He should have recused himself on that. But anyway, here's the thread. SEC Chair Gensler has wrongly prejudged that all digital assets are securities. As a result, federal law requires that he recuse himself from all enforcement decisions related to digital assets. These people still don't, I think these people still don't get it. Gary Gensler doesn't care about the law. Gary Gensler doesn't care about anything until you go at him as aggressively as he's going at everybody else through real action. Cut his funding off. Start throwing subpoenas out. Put this guy really on the fire. Do what the closest thing to making this guy nervous I've seen is start asking him, like Representative, was it Donalds, the congressman that asked him about his involvement in the Russian dossier? Start turning that heat up, because that makes him nervous. We saw the coward look on his face when he was actually put to the fire. Start really going after him, not all this symbolic BS. This is all talk. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm all for Jake Chervinsky and these guys legally laying groundwork and all this. I'm all for it. But what's going to really be done? Because I don't think this story should end with Gary Gensler going off into the sunset and retiring, and then the standard thing, oh, he was in office, but we don't go after him now. He's gone now. No, I don't think that's what. I think these people are really bad people, and they need to be gone after, to the tune of prison. That's what I think. Every SEC enforcement action must follow the Wells process. In that process, SEC commissioners are meant to act as neutral arbiters, impartially weighing the evidence and arguments presented by the SEC staff, the prosecutors, and the enforcement target, the defendant. When it comes to digital assets, Chair Gensler is far from neutral arbiter. Since his appointment, he has repeatedly stated his view that all digital assets other than Bitcoin are securities, end of story. We list many of these statements in our paper. For example, in our February 2023, he said everything other than Bitcoin, you can find a website, you can find a group of entrepreneurs, etc. Chair Gensler's wrong. It's well settled that determining if a particular transaction falls within the scope of the securities laws requires careful analysis of the facts and circumstances. In other words, nothing itself is a security. And Gary Gensler knows this, which is why I keep saying he doesn't care about the law, which is why all of these legal tactics are for what? This guy has to have real consequences. He has to have people go in and really put him on the fire, because everything else he doesn't care about. He hasn't seen any real consequences. That's the reason he keeps ignoring the law. Stuart Alderati says this is a must-read from Blockchain Association. Chair Gensler's statements have legal consequences, and the commission should be held accountable. Gary Gensler should be held accountable. Now, Digital Perspectives makes a very good point. Reason number 117, this case is all but over. You're not handing out an award for being a legend in law for losing. This is apparently a ceremony. Said, we're proud to announce our Chief Legal Officer, Stuart Alderati, has been honored as 2023 Burton Awards Legends in Law winner, XRP community. This is I think it's from the Ripple Facebook page. I don't know why they didn't put it on Twitter where all the crypto people are. Maybe they wanted to hide the announcement so that people didn't say reason number 117, this case is all but over. I don't know. Then we've got Patrick McHenry. He and his friends are writing more letters. Again, I say to Patrick McHenry, Jim Jordan, James Comer, stop writing letters and start letting the subpoenas fly. This guy's going to keep ignoring the law until you guys actually do something besides writing letters and talking and the standard whatever. Gary Gensler believes he can do whatever he wants, and he believes that then he's going to go off into the sunset and none of you are going to ever do anything to him. And that's why he does it. And until you put a stop to that, it's like my kid. I mean, this is no different. That's what's so crazy about this. This is no different than raising kids. Gary Gensler being the kid. This is a kid who's going to keep pitching a temper tantrum until you wear his fanny out, and then he's going to stop because he's not going to want the consequences. Gary Gensler has not had his fanny worn out. And once you do, this guy will be like he'll be like a little puppy, the way he was when that guy asked him about his involvement in the Russian dossier. Now, But everybody seems to be going after him. Even these are the guys. Remember, this Anthony Scaramucci. This guy was affiliated with FTX. He was one of the investors. He's one of the political animals that was one of the investors in that. I want to say he was around the ETHgate. Those investors, same group of people, in my opinion, that thought they were protected until we blew up ETHgate. Now they're all piling on, including Jay Clayton. They're all piling on Gary Gensler.
Well, I think the fraud from Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX, I think, has swung the pendulum in Washington.
And by the way, I'm not saying he was involved in the fraud of FTX. I'm saying that he was one of the guys who propped up Sam Bankman-Fried, and he was an investor, and he was one of the guys that they all helped build Sam Bankman-Fried into the second coming of J.P. Morgan. He was one of those guys.
Far into the over-regulation, persecution, and prosecution business. And I think Gary Gensler's probably overreached in that capacity at this point now. And this whole Promethean thing, I don't know if you're following that, but he approved this broker-dealer that has ties to the Communist Chinese Party, the Chinese Communist Party.
Ooh, they're invoking the Chinese Communist Party.
It's sort of like him and Elizabeth Warren are riding around as Batman and Robin in the old Ghostbusters.
Here they are, Old Bat and her boy Blunder.
You got the Bitcoin logo on the side of the car with that sort of red line through it. And so I don't think the United States needs to be going in that direction. They should go in the direction that you guys have gone here in Canada, which is a propitious regulation, fair regulation. The Canadian...
Boy, let me tell you what. You talking about two people being on the wrong side of history. These two clowns have completely embarrassed any kind of legacy that they would have had. What a freaking joke, disaster. Now, because we exposed ETHgate, now Brad Garlinghouse is being invited to the party. He wasn't being invited to Masari parties. The Masari founder was not getting in dunking booths before we uncovered ETHgate. Oh, how the tables have turned. And there's Anthony Scaramucci too. All the guys. Jeremy Allaire, Brian Armstrong. I get great pleasure in seeing these things. Then Ripple put this out yesterday, 5 crypto myths no business leader should believe. Let's run through them real quick. Myth number 1, crypto's a fad. Myth number 2, crypto's risky and volatile. Myth number 3, crypto's not sustainable. Myth number 4, crypto solutions are complex and difficult to implement. And myth number 5, crypto lacks regulatory clarity globally. So there they are. I'm trying to rush through this because I have a 10-year-old who is telling me I have to take him to Chick-fil-A because it's Friday. I tried to argue with him and say, well, actually, the Friday Chick-fil-A or McDonald's thing for breakfast, that was just for during the school year. And he is my future lawyer and started saying, no. This applies to not during the school year as well. Now, Cowboy Crypto, who is the official cowboy of the Digital Asset Investor channel, put this out yesterday. Michael Moritz, ex-Sequoia chairman, also on the board of Yahoo and Biden top donor, also sits on the board of Stripe, which is a payments processor that Gary Gensler hired while he was CFO for that woman who's married to an ex-president whose name we don't say on this channel. Mark Carney, ex-governor of the Bank of England and Canada, also ex-Goldman Sachs with Gary Gensler, is on the board of Stripe. Mark also sits on the board of Bank of International Settlements and World Economic Forum. Watch this.
When I was chief financial officer of the Hillary campaign, we had to hire a payment system processor with Stripe. So all the donations that were coming in. Okay, so Brian Costello, who was on the official Cool Guys Twitter Spaces last week, he's all over this Sequoia and the CCP ties. Did White House, DOJ, SEC, FBI, and SC protect Sequoia because ex-Sequoia chairman, current partner Michael Moritz was Biden donor? So let's back up because he's talking about Stripe. Stripe is now connected to Gary Gensler and also Sequoia. Okay, well,
I wanted to remind everybody of this. Remember this? There's Chris Larson. There's Jed McCaleb. Stripe and Ripple Labs. This is early days, folks. This is 2012-ish, I think. Stripe and Ripple Labs shared dinner at El Tapa Taqueria to celebrate the pending acquisition of the latter by the former. President were from left, Stripe's head of business development, Jed McCaleb, Patrick Collison, Chris Larson, CFO of Stripe, and some other guy. Okay? Then, if you go from this scene to this, Stripe considered working with Jed McCaleb, so the deal fell through. When Stripe attempted to buy Ripple Labs, this may have been why Chris Larson and Jed McCaleb had the falling out. After that deal fell through and McCaleb left Ripple, Stripe gave $3 million to Stellar Development Foundation in exchange for 2 billion lumens. 2 billion out of the 100 million supply, then 100 billion supply. Then later in 2019, 50 billion of the supply was burned, but that's the way I understand it. Stripe still held 2 billion, which would have been, I guess, 4% of the total supply, right? Any profits net from the sale of Stripe's lumens would be returned to SDF, which is the Stellar Development Foundation. Okay? Are you seeing a circle here? It looks like one. Then Vitalik Buterin has got, this guy said, how are you feeling about the U.S. policy approach to crypto? The one comment I'll make is that I feel bad for that Solana and other projects are getting hit this way. They don't deserve it. And if Ethereum ends up, quote, winning through all the other blockchains get kicked off exchanges, that's not an honorable way to win. There's nothing honorable about you, buddy. There's nothing honorable about your ICO. There's nothing honorable about anything you guys have done to this point. So let's get past the honorable stuff. The winning block getting kicked off in a world that has any justice. This guy and Lubin get on the hot seat at some point in this thing, folks. These guys don't just walk off into the sunset. Same with Gary Gensler. He says kicked off exchanges, and that's not an honorable way to win. And in the long term, probably isn't even a victory. This is especially true since the real competition is not other chains. It's the rapidly expanding centralized world that is imposing itself on us as we speak. I wish all honorable projects a fair outcome in this whole situation. I bet you do, because you don't want your butt to have the spotlight on you. At this point, with all that we know, that's what you want. Now, Cryptic Poet, look at this. So Ripple invests in Medico, and now Citigroup. You know, we've always kind of felt like JP Morgan and Citigroup were the ones, they were the ones that stood to lose the most because of what Ripple was doing with cross-border payments. And those seem to be the two that have not really been involved with Ripple. Well, now Citigroup is reviewing its custodian, Metaco, or however you say it. It's reviewing its digital asset custody partnership with Swiss fintech firm Metaco, and has started informal talks with other providers. People with knowledge of the matter said. The people asked not to be identified because the deliberations are private. Wall Street Bank announced the partnership with Metaco a year ago. Ripple Labs, which is locked in a years-long dispute with the U.S. Securities Exchange Commission, agreed last month to buy Metaco. So they're buying the whole thing. That's right. All right, and then I'll play you the first part of this. This is Susan Friedman, who is head of policy at Ripple. Listen to this.
I think on a global scale.
Yeah, me too. And obviously we've got CBDCs and we've got other new forms of money like stable coins and, you know, cryptocurrencies more broadly. How do you think that's changing the way we transact, and what are sort of the wider implications of a digital currency?
We see digital cryptocurrencies, central bank digital currencies, as encouraging a number of different initiatives, including financial inclusion. We think digital money will help to increase access to financial services for under and unbanked populations, and also encourage, or I should say, enhance direct person-to-person payments. We think that the initiatives will help to enhance existing payment infrastructures Digital currencies can help increase the speed and efficiency of payments. We think that the initiatives generally will help to foster innovation. So using digital features like smart contracts and programmable money will be the basis of new financial services. We also think there's an opportunity for digital currencies to help reduce energy use and environmental resources by presumably phasing out the printing of paper money and the minting of coins.
Ooh, that's interesting, because we know, I'm drawing a blank on her name right now. When you get to be 49, folks, your memory just ain't what it used to be. I'm sitting here trying to, Rosalind Layton? No, that's the girl that writes for Forbes. Anyway, you'll all remind me in the comments what her name is, the girl that's on Ripple's board, who used to be her signatures on all the money. So now that kind of brings it together. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that the digital asset investor's memory is not what it used to be. Thanks for listening.